It is the 17th day of November 2025, a bright Monday morning here. I hope your day has started off quite well. It is the World Prematurity Day today. Basically, attention is drawn to this day to address the special issues facing infants born prematurely, and it calls on you to, of course, or the parents to take care or work with members of the community to take care of these kids born prematurely.
I heard somewhere that actually kids who are born prematurely end up being very successful in life.
You know, I'm a premature baby.
Oh, really?
Evidence kwa kalatas. My name is Ann Odida. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Fred Ndimuli. You're keeping count on the rest of the year, 44 days to be exact, to the end of 2025. And no matters Christmas, 38 days to Christmas. Tushafika below 40. 38 days. Kidogo kidogo itakuwa 30 days. Kidogo 25 days. Kidogo mbuzi na chinjo. Karibu sana. My name is Fred Ndimuli. KCSE exams continue today. Geography paper 1 at 8 a.m. this morning and physics paper 1 later in the afternoon. So exams bado zinaendelea. Usifikirie mambo imeisha. All the best to the candidates.
All the best. Now we have like 7 days to December. If we remove weekends, it's like 7 days. Let's take a look at the local dailies. Daily Nation, the war within.
Yeah, it's everything to do with ODM. Same thing, and now you're seeing the main person who's on the front pages. One Winnie Odinga. Same person, Raila Rain Connect on the front page of the Standard.
Ruto atongoza ODM Taifa Leo.
It's all about ODM, eh? The Orange Succession battles and fight for Raila's dream. That's the front page of the People Daily. Once again, Winnie Odinga features there on the front pages. Hakudhani itafika siku kama hiyo. Imefika.
Business Daily, Nigeria's zenith to acquire Kenya's Paramount Bank.
All right. And still on the Star, cheap imports killing Kenya's Juakali sector. And this is a different, I think this is the one headline that is totally, anyway, they are fresh, independent, and different. That's the Star.
All right, to Vuke Boda.
Kabla tuvuke boda, tuwaeleze nani atakuwa hapa studioni kuzungumza zaidi kuhusu zile headlines tumeangalia. On State of the Nation today, Advocate of the High Court Kibe Mungai will be with us in studio alongside governance expert Kathy Rungu and Samuel Pugisio, who was Cabinet Minister for ICT in the Kibaki II administration. Do stand by for that. Of course, being a Monday, coming at your way at 8 a.m., itakuwa ni maswala ya sporti, Monday Blitz. Katela Macy, Fred Arocho na wengineo watakuwa in studio. Twende regional.
The East African, Samia's quest for national healing, and President Samia Suluhu Hassan goes motherly on Gen Z, orders release of close to 500 youth, promises a dedicated ministry, special unit, and dialogue aimed at mending fences with an aggrieved opposition. This story is on page 4 and 5.
Yes.
Finally.
Kuna kitu moja ina miss hapo.
Gani?
Justice.
Yes.
It's just national healing, or tutaunda ministry, or watu waachiliwe, nini. Hey, who did this? Who did it? Nani aliwa? Where is the justice? That's a question.
Who's taking accountability? Corridors of integration. This is DR Congo Prime Minister at the ICGLR high-level segment Kinshasa on November 14 with her deputy Jean-Pierre Bemba. They say corridors of integration. Other quick headlines here. Kir sacks technocrats as economy tanks. World Bank warns that frequent changes have heightened policy uncertainty and dampened foreign investor interest. And YC access has become hot potato.
I've seen a lot of debate now. Watu wanajaribu kuchange map ya East Africa mpaka wamedraw some corridor from Uganda right through Kenya to the Indian Ocean. Ni kama itakuwa tu barabara. Uganda, they have access to the ocean now.
Yeah. Now, they say beyond legal and moral rights, access also touches on security needs. Uganda wanataka hii ocean.
You know, it is one of those issues that Ethiopia and Somalia also fight about, because Ethiopia, most of the land is inward, and then Somalia enjoys a very long coastline. So alikuwa sema si mtu achie tu kidogo akaambua ngo. And then pale at the end of Ethiopia, there's Djibouti, where Ethiopia would have had access to the ocean, nothing. Another country came there. Poleni kwao.
All right. Now, this is the regional outlook, the East African, tende specific.
Tunaanza Uganda, the Daily Monitor, mambo imekuwa gagna. Winnie says, I'm ready to meet Museveni over Besigye. Now, this is a very interesting story. This is Dr. Kiza Besigye's wife. She's also the executive director of UNAIDS. She's called Winnie Banyema. She's explaining the pain the family has endured through her husband's detention for a year now. Now, what makes it more interesting is a kind of relationship that he has had previously with President Yoweri Museveni. Unakumbuka Kairenu Gaba akipiga kelele Twitter akisema wewe hata baba yangu alikufukuza ni huyu. So she has had a previous relationship with the president. They don't talk about it much. But now she says she's ready to meet Museveni because of her husband. Can you imagine your complique? This is proper entanglement.
It might work.
She describes Besige's miserable prison conditions. She has condemned erosion of institutional independence, says Besige played key role in Luero bush war, says Besige case has set example for region. Yes, Kiza Besige's wife, who previously had a relationship with Museveni. Now amesema anaenda kwa Museveni kutetea Besige. In a drama. Now this is what soap operas should be made of. That's the main story there on the front page of the Daily Monitor. Government sets staff rules for city traders. Ni story nyingine pale. But that's the main story.
New Vision, iPod Cash deepens NUP and Mao fallout. NUP leadership accuses Justice Minister of persecuting them. Museveni champs Busia ya Uganda pale.
Your picture, you know, it's a sea of yellow. Kila mahali.
The New Vision is always yellow. Dr. White, that is Paula White, inspires thousands at Command the Future Conference in Uganda. Kule juu Mulago protest over permit on hospital land, and that's the New Vision. They don't make mention of.
I was looking for that. You know, they always reserve a kakona up and asema, this is what the others say. Chagulani, Mafabi, and Omutabi. Today, awako, it's all about Museveni.
All right.
In Busia.
Twende Bongo sasa.
In Tanzania, the Citizen.
Why Samia's decision on new youth ministry is apt, and the decision to establish a fully fledged ministry dedicated to youth affairs is one of the most significant administrative shifts in recent years, and comes at a time when young people make up the vast majority of the country's population. Now, according to the President, Samia Suluhu, she says, and I quote, "We in the government have reflected on the need to have a ministry that will handle with youth affairs. We have resolved to create a full ministry instead of setting aside a department burdened with many responsibilities." Now, there were 21.3 million people aged 15 to 35, representing about 34.5% of all Tanzanians, with mainland Tanzania accounting for 20.6 million, and Zanzibar 699,845, according to the 2022 census.
Question, because in Kenya we've previously had a fully fledged youth affairs ministry. Did it change anything? And that was actually before the Gen Z protest. We had a fully fledged ministry of youth affairs. Right now I think it's a department within the Ministry of Sports, Sports and Youth Affairs. But is it really a solution to the kind of chaos you saw in Tanzania? Okay, fine, tunawapatia wizara yenu sasa. Alafu tutatafuta mzee mmoja akuje kuiongoza kama waziri.
That is not youth. Okay. Rostam's $130 million LPG terminal gets node in Kenya. They say a company founded by Tanzanian billionaire Rostam Aziz has secured a major reprieve after Kenya's Environment and Land Court struck out a petition challenging the construction of its $130 million LPG terminal in Mombasa. Experts applaud renewed focus on science and tech is another story covered on page 9. And on the top strip, over 300,000 missing as Form 4 national examination begins. So 300,000 students are missing in Tanzania.
Okay. Now, hiyo mtihani yao inaanza late. We are almost done with ours.
Yeah.
Tukisalia kule Bongo, gazeti la Mwananchi hapa nasema wanafunzi zaidi ya 300,000 waachia ngazi njiani. Idadi hiyo ni sehemu ya wanafunzi 900,000 na zaidi waliochaguliwa kuanza kidato cha kwanza mwaka 2022. Wadau wa elimu wafunguka wakitaka utafiti. Wanasema ni wale waliingia Form 1. Lakini by the time they get to Form 4, 300,000. That's a third. A third of the number that got into Form 1 were dropped, by the way. Remember when Magufuli was president and he had declared that if at all any girl gets pregnant while in school, she will not be allowed back.
Yeah.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan, when she took over from Magufuli, reversed that. But because walikuwa wanasema watu wengi wenye they don't end up finishing high school, ni wengi wenye they get pregnant while in school. Anyway. Sasa zaidi ya 300 hawajulikani waliko. Utapeli wa mapenzi unavyoliza wanawake ni habari nyingine imepewa kipaumbele kwa gazeti hili. Wanasema hali ikiwa ya utulivu, kila mmoja akiendelea na lake ndani ya saluni ya kike. It's a feature story. It's a feature story. Wanasema utapeli wa mapenzi. Wanaume wamekuwa matapeli sasa.
What's utapeli?
Utapeli is conmanship.
Okay.
You're conning women using love.
Wow.
Inafanya wanalia sasa. Lakini Kenya nafikiri ni opposite. Wanawake wamekuwa matapeli, wanafanya wanaume wamekataa kwenda events, hawatokee, wanajifungia manyumbani.
It cuts across.
Wale wengine kauli ya Bashiru kuhusu uchumi na demokrasia ni habari nyingine kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili. Pale juu tunaona picha ya Rais Ruto pale akiwa na huyo investor kutoka Tanzania. Ni mradi wa Rostam wa gesi wapata kibali Kenya. Wanasema koti imeamua sasa wanaweza endelea na hiyo kazi.
Huyu yule alikuwa tupatie gas na 600.
Ni yeye. Kwa hivyo ndio maana gas bado ni expensive. Acha tuone kwanza. Pale chini mwelekeo wa wadau kukomesha uzuiaji maiti. Wale wanazuia maiti ya hospitali kabla hujalipa bili wanakuambia sisi tumeshikilia mwili. Ndio hao. Hiyo habari kwenye ukurasa wa 4. Gazeti la Mwananchi.
Sawa sawa. Tuangalie hali ya anga sasa hivi. Tuone weather inakaa vipi.
Today we want to focus on the different areas that are having by-elections in about 10 days time. It's 10 days to by-election day. That's next week, 27th. So one of those places is Malava in Kakamega County, where we actually see that there it is it's clear skies today. Highs of 26 degrees, which is comfortable weather. And this is expected to get even higher as we get to next week. They will experience 27 over the weekend, highs of 28. Once we get to next week, it will get up to 29 degrees, which is on Wednesday. Inamaanisha joto inaendelea kupanda, ya siasa ikipanda na hata hali ya anga juu inapanda. And as far as precipitation is concerned, today 0.1 millimeters, very little rainfall in Malava. Elsewhere where we do have by-elections and hotly contested is within Embu County in Mbeere North.
16 degrees this morning. It's a mostly cloudy day in Embu. Highs of 24 degrees and precipitation in Embu today is 0.6 millimeters. This 24 degrees itakuwa hivi. I think during the weekend.
Yes.
Ndio itapanda to 27.
Lakini ikifika next week inafika 27. Ni kama tu uko Malava. Siasa ikipanda na jua inapanda. Temperature inapanda literally.
Alright.
Tuangazie kule ni kama imepotea, nilikuwa nimeona mahali kuna kasipuli lakini sawa tu. Tuende Mombasa. 24 degrees this morning, partly cloudy, highs of 31 degrees. Joto inazidi kupanda, but it might drop a bit next week with a bit of rainfall expected even this week, tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday. But today just a bit of it, especially at around 10 a.m. 1 millimeter only.
Kidogo sana.
And kidogo. Kule Marsabit?
It's 21 degrees in Marsabit as we speak, feels like 24. It's a partly cloudy day here, highs of 27 degrees and precipitation here 2.2 millimeters. This is the highest you're seeing so far. Lakini 24 degrees is not even far from, the highest they're going to experience.
Leo watasikia tu joto throughout. That's Marsabit. Okay, and finally Nakuru. Nakuru is comfortable weather, 11 degrees this morning. They say they'll have clear skies with periodic clouds. The highest they'll experience today is 21 degrees, which is quite relatively cool, but it might go up kidogo over the weekend, hitting 24. Very comfortable weather in Nakuru, 0.7 millimeters. So the only place we've seen they have rainfall is where? In Marsabit.
Tuangalie Nairobi kwanza. Nairobi, it's currently 15 degrees. It's a mostly cloudy day. Precipitation here is 1.1 millimeters. That means Marsabit is the highest. Highs of 24 degrees in Nairobi, and weekend pia itapanda.
All right.
14 minutes past 6 a.m. Tuangalie Monday traffic in Nairobi.
Monday traffic, I know many people are still traveling. Wale watoto wamefunga shule tayari washaanza kusafirishwa kwenda ushago. Waenda wakae huko na kukaa na kuhu. I'd already noted a few places where it's already problematic. One of those places is Jogoo Road, and this is all the way from that wale wanajua Manyanja Road. Ile interchange pale Donholm, you can already see this stretch, a whole stretch of red getting into Jogoo Road heading towards town. This is a problem. It means there's an incident here at the junction from Buruburu, because that's where it ends. There's a whole stretch of red. So if you're coming from areas like Umoja, Donholm, areas Tena Estate and further, you'll experience a lot of trouble once you get to Jogoo Road there, joining Jogoo Road into town. After that, if you manage to get through that, the rest of Jogoo Road is very comfortable. You'll only get to experience another trouble, not really trouble, but normal traffic, which is a bit heavier than usual on Haile Selassie Avenue, all the way from that Landis Road roundabout, all the way up to the railways roundabout as well. A whole stretch of red there. The other trouble spot ni Pangani interchange. At this time of day, it's usually kidogo tu hapa, but you can see the traffic there is stretching far back to the Utali Drift, meaning that those coming from Thika Road kule juu, areas like Kasarani and Ruiru, ukifika Pangani interchange leo, you'll spend a few minutes there. A few minutes kama 15, 17, 30 minutes heavy. If you're coming from Kiambu Road, not so bad, but same problem there at the Pangani interchange. All other roads, Mombasa Road is looking good, green all the way from the airport into town. Langata Road, Ngong Road na wale wengine wa kule juu kutoka Kabete na Kangemi, maeneo kama hayo, wale hawana shida, hawa ni kama washafunga shule. Closing day tayari. Lakini mkumbuke KCSE inaendelea, ukiona wanafunzi kwa barabara waondoke, kuna mtihani kama ambulance. That's the traffic this Monday morning.
All right, let's have the quote of the day.
No need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need to be anybody but oneself.
All right, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies. The war within, that's the headline in the Daily Nation this morning. Winnie's hard tackle on Oburu Odinga, ODM gala reveals family tensions. And dispute, they say. Yala MP Winnie Odinga, the daughter of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, on Saturday questioned the competence of her uncle, Dr. Oburu Oginga, to lead ODM, even as she alleged a plot to sell the party, exposing simmering differences that could threaten the Orange Party's existence. Now, Raila's daughter demands a national delegates convention to pick party leaders. She said, the broad-based relationship is complicated. Those managing it now, are they capable? Because it's only one Baba Raila Odinga who could manage it. And Oburu Odinga responded the same day, akisema it's Raila who left us in the broad-based government. If it comes to 2027, we shall look at the best person to talk with or go it alone. The war within ODM.
And this came only days after the party's top organ had met and confirmed all the interim leaders as now officials. So there is no longer interim party leader, he is a party leader. The SG is no longer interim, SG is SG of ODM party. Even the chairperson is no longer interim. All officials have been confirmed. And then hours later, mnakuja mnaanza this push and pull. It's interesting because now she's asking for a national delegates convention, which is a bigger meeting. I don't know if that would be the solution.
Sema watu warudi kwa wananchi. All right, that's the headline there. The quick headlines on the front page of the Daily Nation. Sitting side saddle on borders can be deadly, once NTSA.
Boda hiyo, by the way, that's a very interesting one. Kuna wale wanapenda kukalia bodaboda kina mama kama wameangalia kando, mnaenda upande hii au wameangalia upande hii.
Yes.
Naambiwa hiyo
It's
very risky.
Ushawaika hivyo?
Mimi nikaa hivyo nikifanya wapi? Nikienda wapi?
I have tried it and it's actually very dangerous.
Don't try it.
Unasianga ni kama ukivuka bump utaenda na nyuma. World Food Program report that why more Kenyans are now facing hunger, and they say they want that Kenya faces worsening hunger crisis, highlighting growing risks for climate conflict and economic pressures. And Moi era contractors' assets are for sale in KCB loan row. That's another story there on page 16. And the top strip, 87,000 ghost learners drain 1 billion shillings of public school funds annually. 1 billion. And flying coffins, old beat-up police choppers are a disaster in waiting. That story is on page 2. On the back page, there's a story you're looking at.
Yes, there's a story on page 3. Wanasema stick to the deal. The court has ruled that post-divorce agreement is legally binding. Mushaachana, mushapewa ile decree nisi imeenda, alafu munaenda muna agree kitu ingine baada. Alafu unafikiria, oh, since we are not divorced, since we have already divorced, this one I don't have to abide by it. No, wamesema post-divorce settlement agreements between spouses are legally binding. That cannot, they are legally binding contracts that cannot be unilaterally revoked unless fraud, coercion, or undue influence is proven. This is a ruling by the High Court. Chunga sana.
All right. Kule nyuma on the back page, Kenya fights to keep 10,000 meters title in Tokyo Championship. They say 2025 Deaflympics, 6,000 participants converged on Tokyo for quadrennial games. We have Victor Otieno there and Ian Wambui. And Japan hosts the World for Quadrennial Games. That's the Daily Nation this morning.
All right. It's the same lady, I think she's a lady of the hour, Winnie Odinga. Na niliona a lot of discussion online, watu wanasema wanam-DM sana.
Yes.
Wanataka nini na alisema tukutane DM.
Tangu 15th. Wajafumua.
They call it a big leap here, and it's the only story covered on the front page of the Standard. Winnie Odinga has burst onto the national stage, igniting a succession battle that could redefine or fracture the Odinga political empire. Her fiery debut at ODM's 20th anniversary in Mombasa energized supporters and unsettled rivals, signaling her intent to shape a party already split by competing camps. With Raila gone, ODM faces its most volatile moment in decades, an aging Oburu at the helm, rising factional tensions, and a bold new contender challenging the old order. Winnie's next moves could determine the party's future. Alafu kuna mtu mmoja, when she spoke, Robert Alai ule MCA wa Kilelesho akakimbia pale X akasema we ile moto ilitoka Mombasa. I don't know kama Alai mwenyewe alikuwa Mombasa. Ile moto ilitoka Mombasa akiambua boss, usijaribu, wacha tu, don't try. So this is what Winnie Odinga said, and she's quoted here on the front page. When it came to the matter of broad-based government, the people of ODM entrusted one person with the management of that relationship. That person was Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. That relationship is complicated. Anauliza, and it's a valid question, anasema, are those now in charge after Raila has exited? Are they really in charge when it comes to the broad-based arrangement? Because Raila and President Ruto are co-principals in that arrangement. Now, whoever has replaced him, is he able to sit comfortably in that arrangement as a co-principal? It is a valid question. Yes, and the Standard has gone pages 2, 3, still talking about what the ODM 20th anniversary. Like father, like daughter is a story there. Winnie Odinga's bold sparks debate on ODM's future is another story there. Another story, the same coming from there. Oburu faces turbulent start as he steps up Raila's huge shoes at ODM helm. So yes, but kuna zile story kule ndani ambazo watu wazungumzi na hizo ni kuhusu by-election. Na usikia Mbere kumewaka moto. Kasipul candidates have been summoned by the IEBC because of the violence. Yes. So a lot of focus for the next 8 days because campaigns have to stop 48 hours before. Is it 48 hours or 24 hours? So at least for the next 8 to 9 days, inashika proper. UDA opposition braces for fierce battle in Narok and Baringo polls. Those are just some of the stories. Turn the back page. Matters rugby. And this is the women's rugby. Kenya Lionesses are Africa's second best in women's rugby. Kenya are the second. This is after the spirited Lionesses won silver at the 2025 Rugby Africa Women's Sevens tournament that came to an end yesterday at the RFUEA grounds. The hosts went down to record champions South Africa in the finals, but are already through to the World Rugby Sevens Series Division 2. Congratulations, Kenya Lionesses, for that. Spain on World Cup brink as Belgium made to wait for slot. Remember, it was an international break in matters football. That's why the weekend was not as exciting for fans of those European leagues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taifa leo, Ruto atuongoza ODM. ODM at 20, rais asema anaamini vyama vya UDA na ODM vitaunda serikali mwaka 2027. Atoa wito wa ushirikiano huku baadhi ya viongozi wa ODM wakionekana kupinga serikali jumuishi. Rais achukua hatua hiyo baada ya tofauti kali kuzuka chamani kuhusu namna ya kushughulikia uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027. Chungwa Nation na Asante Baba walikuwa na Founders Party kule Mombasa.
It was supposed to be a party, lakini ilikuwa ni mambo ya malumbano na kila mtu kujipiga kifua.
Hata keki labda ataikuonja vizuri.
Kuna mtu wako kula hiyo keki vizuri. Ni kama alisikia hiyo test akaitoa.
Hapana, ni age. Labda afai kula cake. Mambo
ya sukari, unajua sukari pia. Sugar intake, ukishafika umri fulani haufai kula sukari sana.
Right. Acheni siasa nyingi. Vidokezo zaidi, makurutu waajiriwa leo hatimaye. Ni mchakato wa kuajiri vijana 10,000 waanza baada ya kukwamishwa mara kadhaa. Nyaribo tena roho mkononi, gavana wa Nyamira hana nafasi ya kupumua madarakani, MCA wa Mwandama. Upinzani watia juhudi kule Mbeere North, gavana Mbarire ataka Gachagua azuiwe kukanyaga Mbeere kwa kampeni. Na kule juu, wanafunzi hewa, that is ghost learners, 87,000 waramba mabilioni. Ni ukaguzi ambao umeanika wakuu wa elimu wanavyofilisi umma, na Mchina mchokozi afukuzwe Kenya kotu. Mwekezaji wa kigeni anaswa kwa kamera akimpiga Mkenya. Taifa leo.
Wow. Kutoka hapo gazeti la People Daily, still focusing on the ODM succession. They call it the orange succession battles and fight for Raila's dream. It's what people have been talking about all weekend long. Heated divisions and power struggles dominated ODM's 20th anniversary in Mombasa, exposing deep rifts over the party's future. On one side, those angling towards a broad-based arrangement, Chairperson Gladys Wanga, CS Hassan Joho, Deputy Party Leader Abdul Swamad Sharif Nasir and Zamzam Mohammed. On the other hand, Godfrey Otsotsi, James Orengo, the Siaya Governor, Edwin Sifuna na kama kawaida Winnie Odinga. Hao wanaenda upande mwingine wanasema chama cha ODM has to be autonomous. Hataki mambo ati kimemezwa wolololo. Anajua UDA knows how to swallow parties. ANC party anyway. Pale juu Ndindi Nyoro anasema state wants to slash capitation for schools. To what? Hata ile wamesema hawapi full yote, sasa wakislash watu wataacha masomo. That's the People Daily.
Tukisonga mbele haraka haraka, Business Daily, Nigeria Zenith to acquire Kenya's Paramount Bank. And they say Nigeria's second largest bank by asset base and market capitalization, that is the Zenith Bank, is seeking to acquire Kenya's Paramount Bank and has sought regulatory approval to proceed with the transaction. Now, Zenith's plan to enter the East African market through an acquisition in Kenya was reported earlier, but the target bank was not identified. This is according to this newspaper, and this story is on page 2. Tanzania and Mombasa tycoons face off over LPG after court order.
Sasa wanakupatia habari za ndani za kina.
Kile ambacho
kumbe kuna mambo kule chini. Sisi tunafikiria tu something positive.
Page 2. Tanzania and Mombasa tycoons face off over LPG after court order. Oh, interesting. On the ticker, men dominate high-value M-Pesa transactions.
Rudia tena.
Men accounted for 61% of mobile money cash that flowed through M-Pesa, Airtel Money and T-Cash, reflecting male dominance of a super earners club.
Okay, but then again, look at it this way. They may be the ones sending money, but who are they sending to?
To us.
The recipients ndio basi wanafaa semekane pia ni kina nani. Kuna watu wana receive sana.
Global agencies to set aside 2/3 of jobs for Kenyans, lending slums as cash piles in banks rise to record levels.
Watu wameacha kuboro.
Yes, that's the Business Daily.
All right, we still have the Star. Hey, sasa hii imetoka hata hawajazungumzia mambo ya ODM or anything, wameenda imports. Cheap imports killing Kenya's jua kali sector. They say China is the main source of imports into the country. That's one story on pages 4 and 5, the spread. Another story, flooding leads to submerged homes, sparking health crisis, and this is somewhere in wapi huku, Naivasha. Kehoto Estate in Naivasha. 4,000 families have been displaced. Another story here, Fitch predicts good tidings for Kenyan investors in bank stocks. Pale juu, Ruto turns to MPs to enact 1.5 trillion shilling infrastructure fund. Now, this is a big story. This week, I think on Wednesday or Thursday, President William Ruto will be delivering the State of the Nation address. And he said one of those things that he wants to convince MPs on is this infrastructure fund. This could have an impact on Kenyans because, okay, fine, setting up a fund is very good on paper, but you have to put resources into that fund. Hizo resources zinatoka wapi? It's either deni, ukuje uweke hiyo pesa hapo, ama ambio Kenyans nyinyi wekeni hiyo pesa hapo. Mutaitana. Infrastructure fund coming up. That's the star.
All right. The State of the Nation?
Yes, once again on State of the Nation, we'll be having Samuel Pogisio served as cabinet minister in the Kibaki II administration, governance expert Kathy Rungu and Wakili Kibe Mungai in a few minutes' time. Do stand by for that conversation. And look at the big headlines. Of course, ODM, the biggest discussion.
All right.
Monday Blitz coming up at around 8 a.m. Kabla tuende break, let's take a look at wachoraji magazetini. Wanazungumzia nini?
The Standard.
The Standard, kuna mkono imeshika chungwa pale inafinya, ndio kufionza ama ndio kufanya nini? Imefinya mpaka imetoka juice. Inaitwa nini? Internal wrangles. The internal wrangles threaten to destroy that orange. It is the same theme on the Daily Nation, the cartoon. But this orange hapa,
watu wako ndani ya hiyo orange wanapigana kweli kweli.
Imeoza, iko na wadudu divisions. Unaona wadudu wale wanatoka huku kila mtu.
Na ni watu wanafanya zinatoka.
Ukiangalia kwa kioo upande ule mwingine, it's a very nice orange. But if you take a look at the reality, kule ndani, malumbano deadly. ODM at 20.
That's the Daily Nation.
Different story there on the cartoon on the People Daily. Kuna jamaa ameshika gitaa hapa na amevaa crown ile ya Murima. Alafu pale kuna mwimbaji anaitwa Cleo. Anasema it's Gachagua or nothing. It should be. Yeah, it's Gachagua or nothing. Wimbo wa United Opposition pale. DCP, si United Opposition. Now this, a very interesting story. Yeah.
Now in 2023, South Africa filed a genocide case against Israel at the ICJ. It positioned itself as a major, what is it called? A major face of global fight against genocide. Of course, I think they're drawing inspiration from what they experienced during apartheid.
Yes.
So, of course, tunaona pale, they sent humanitarians to Gaza. Republic of South Africa, tunaona hiyo plane hapo.
There was a plane, actually. There's an incident that happened this past weekend. A very interesting one. It was not reported kwa magazeti huku mbele, but it caused some diplomatic tiff between Kenya and Tanzania and South Africa. What happened was 153 refugees from Palestine got onto a plane heading towards South Africa. Ikaamua kulanda wapi kwanza? JKIA. Then they were moved from one plane to another and proceeded with their journey to South Africa. Now, when being processed in South Africa, that's when they realized, nyinyi mmetoka wapi? Na sinasemekana mmepitia Kenya. Mbona hatuoni stamps za anything? Because now, if at all they were coming from Kenya, then the Kenyan authorities should have informed South Africa. Ndio sababu hapa unaona Ramaphosa anauliza hiyo ndege imetoka wapi? Anauliza Ruto, hii mambo ni gani? So it's a diplomatic tiff between Kenya and South Africa because of that.
All right.
Interesting.
So the regional dailies and local dailies and of course the caricatures. So keep interacting with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and on YouTube, on X at TV47 News, TV47 Digital on X. My handle on X is at @Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe TV47.
My handle on X is at Fred Indimuli. See you after the break.
own your mornings. Join Coach Shadrach Oma every Monday to Friday from 5:30 to 6 a.m. only on TV 47. Full body workouts, zero equipment, maximum results. Start strong, stay strong. TV 47 Fitness with Coach Shadrach only on TV 47. Looking for the perfect way to kick off your weekend?
Pole. Hiyo ni salamu ya Mluya kabisa.
Tune in to Friday with Betty, the most exciting show on TV.
Betty, one year ago. Betty, I didn't know where this guy's going.
Walikutoka.
From the latest news and trends to unforgettable moments.
Mimi ni simpa. Hiyo naona nakubali.
Wewe ni simpa.
Friday with Betty is your go-to show for a fabulous Friday night.
Theological, meteorologist. What is that word, Willis?
Tune in this and every Friday at 9 p.m. and let's make your Fridays unforgettable. Only on TV 47. Enjoy uninterrupted live streaming of your favorite programs on TV 47 and Radio 47 on the go with our new mobile-friendly website. Experience the future of broadcasting. Visit www.tv47.digital or scan this QR code and stream your way to endless news and entertainment. Welcome to the home of untold stories.
This is Kenya's #1 talk show, Dr. Fureke tonight. My name is the Eagle himself. Dr. Fureke is my name.
We are flipping the script, but guess what? Or should I say, guess who is taking over tonight's show?
Ani wewe furahia umekaa na kasipuni. CP unit ni Punet.
So you guys knew about...
Piga.
Sawa basi. Nasema, that I'm giving the whole time.
I don't want to go back to brokenness.
Never.
I just love the high life. Siwezi taka kuimagine ati nimesota.
You'll have to watch to find out. Tune in every Wednesday from 7:30 p.m.
Next time you need fresh lemon juice, microwave a lemon for 7 to 10 seconds. Then roll the lemon back and forth under your palm on the counter. When you squeeze, you'll get more juice from the lemon with way less effort.
Start your day with Relationship Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. with Ann Odida. Dive deep into the dynamics of love, friendship, and family as we explore the stories that shape our connections. Then satisfy your appetite with Tasty Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. where Anne serves up delicious recipes, cooking tips, and the latest food trends to inspire your next meal. Relationship Wednesday and Tasty Wednesday every Wednesday 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on Morning Cafe.
Your nose alone won't always tell you if your eggs have gone bad. To find out, gently place uncooked eggs in a bowl of cold water. If an egg sinks to the bottom, it's A-OK. If it floats, it's seen better days.
Messages which she wrote after that, saying that, my people, I'm coming to lead you.
But his comments quickly provoked a backlash, most strongly from MP Millie Odhiambo, a veteran defender of women in politics. Millie accused Alai of habitually attacking women, of misrepresenting Winnie, and of targeting leaders like Governor Gladys Wanga under the guise of criticism.
I want to tell you a lie. You attack Winnie Odinga, you attack Millie Odhiambo na wamama wa ODM.
I believe that if they understood Baba, why the Baba went to prison for 9 years, he went to prison so that we differ, but we still sit on the same table as people of the same, of the same kind.
Alai, however, doubled down, insisting he would not be silenced and accusing Millie of shielding Winnie from legitimate scrutiny. He maintained that ODM must confront uncomfortable truths about leadership transition.
And we are going to try to ensure that we steer this population. And these are the same people who, come what may, we are saying that even when we proposed BBI, it was to include everybody. My gain should not be your loss.
The public spat is only the latest sign of a party at war with itself. Just days earlier in Mombasa, senior ODM figures delivered sharply contrasting messages, painting a picture of a movement divided between maintaining Raila's resistance ideology and embracing a more pragmatic, government-friendly approach.
Wadozi, mliangalia huyu babu Owino mkaona hawezi tosha kiti yeyote. And therefore we are looking and we are wondering, those that are taking it upon themselves to manage it now, are they capable?
Because what is happening now is that some people want to be brokers. They believe that they can be BAMBA. In ODM, they want to control the Luo votes. So what they're struggling to do is that nani atakuwa anaongea na William, on behalf of the Luos.
But former Deputy Leader Hassan Joho offered a different view, defending party leaders working within government structures and warning against internal sabotage.
Hatuwezi kuwa sacrificial lamb. Huwezi kututumia unavyotaka alafu ututupe. Inawezekana hiyo? Inawezekana hiyo?
Caught between these competing forces is Winnie Odinga, a lightning rod for both hope and controversy. Her accusations that ODM faces secret deals and boardroom politics have electrified younger supporters, while unsettling veterans worry of her growing influence.
Nasikia kuna wengine ambao wanatembea nasi mchana lakini usiku wanajaribu kuuza hii chama. Haiwezekani. ODM was not born in a boardroom. It was not made in a bedroom. So its future will not be discussed as pillow talk.
What Winnie was doing was basically attacking a woman, saying that some people are sleeping, trying to use the pillows to sell the party, the bedroom. I think basically she was attacking women, and what we believe is that she was attacking Governor Gladys Wanga.
Her call for a new NDC signals growing concerns within ODM over transparency, internal democracy and leadership legitimacy during what many describe as a party's most defining transition. According to the controversial MCA, beyond the political firestorm lies a deeper emotional truth.
ODM needed a safety valve. And I think that Oburu Odinga is going to act as a safety valve. But I don't think that in the long run, I think that we need to have a younger person, probably Mbadi, these younger individuals to lead the party with the maturity, with the level of maturity of Oburu Odinga.
For 2 decades, Raila Odinga was the stabilizer, the referee and the unifying force of ODM, Without him, members now speak of feeling stranded, leaderless and unsure who has the authority to chart the next course.
There's a very big likelihood that the party will split based on opposition and internal politics. Now, splitting the party is not an issue. Having the machinery to run your own party is the question.
As the push for an NDC gathers momentum, ODM's next step will determine not just its internal cohesion, but also its place in the evolving national political landscape. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
It is definitely the biggest conversation coming from the weekend. ODM at 20, a platform that was initially meant to celebrate 20 years of probably the biggest party in the last 2 decades in Kenya's history. But it turned out to be a platform for various other things, from James Orengo's ideology to Babu Wino's bridled ambition, Hassan Joho's apparent insecurities, Winnie Odinga's entitlement, Robert Alai's lack of restraint, William Ruto's definite interest in controlling this party. Definitely a very interesting look. On the front page of the Standard, Raila reincarnate. That's the front page with a picture there of Raila Odinga's last-born daughter, Winnie. She is still there on the front page of the Daily Nation, meaning that perhaps she's one of the most talked about individuals from the ODM at 20, the war within. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Kathy Rungu, a political commentator and governance analyst. Karibu sana, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
With us this morning also Samuel Pogisio. After a long time, he served as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament. He was Minister for ICT in the Kibaki II administration. Previously, he has also served as MP of Kachiliba, and he was a Senator for West Pokot. Karibu sana, Bwana Pogisio. It's good to have you back. ODM at 20. Did you see any celebration, or have they come out of that even more fractured? Kathy?
So number one, I think the people of ODM and the family of Baba Raila Odinga are still mourning. If you look at Winnie and even Joho, all these people, they have not gotten over it, and grieving is actually a process, and therefore we do not expect that they will get out of it, anytime soon, but we continue to wish them grace and to pray for them, and of course to wish them the very best as they undertake their political endeavors. But yeah, as you said, I believe that the ODM fabric is actually more torn than it was before. What is happening and what I saw myself is perhaps the older generation, the people who represent Baba's generation, including Oburu, are on one side, while the young people and the women are on the other side. It was a bit embarrassing to see a female leader, giggle as Winnie was being disparaged, as Winnie was being attacked, in a subtle manner by the anchor. But then, as we say, it's the way we conduct our politics. So, as you can see from the highlights of the day, Winnie has been given a lot of prominence by the dailies, but even by on social media. I think it's the thing that everybody has talked about a lot over the weekend. Does she have a right to inherit the father? Yes and no. I want to believe that, number one, she's equal to the task, but then we need to relook at our party structures. I mean, it doesn't have to be a family member. And therefore, I also do not understand the people who are supporting Oburu Odinga as they say that Winnie is entitled. Why are they not thinking or looking at Oburu as someone who is also entitled? Mm-hmm. Because ODM is a national party, and therefore, after Baba, we can have the possibility of even having a person from outside Nyanza leading the party is still there. So the entitlement is on both sides. So let's not look at Winnie and crucify her and say she's entitled just because she's a daughter of the late Honorable Raila Odinga. I think ODM was split totally. I do not think that we are going to have a strong ODM towards 2027. There must be an attempt, and to me, it seems like William Ruto perhaps is thinking of running on an ODM ticket, which would be totally a game changer. The question I was asking myself on Friday when I saw all these things happening, I asked myself, yeah, it is true, he's a founder member of the ODM party as well. The same case applies to my party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta. But then would he have attended ODM at 20 dinner if Baba was there? Would Baba have invited him? So these are some of the questions that linger in my mind, and I ask myself, what is the interest of the UDA party in ODM? Yes. Because they seem to be meddling a lot in the affairs of the ODM party. But then to just finish on that, is that I strongly feel that our political space in all the major political parties, the space for women and young people keep shrinking, instead of expanding that space so that women are heard and the young people are heard and they are allowed to do politics just like everybody else, we shrink those spaces a lot, and it is not right.
All right. Bwana Pogisio, looking at this, it was intended to be a celebration, but probably it turned out to a platform that portrayed the kind of disunity, the kind of insecurities there. Many people just shouting themselves hoarse, trying to secure their sports within that. Do you think that this is the end of ODM as we knew it, the biggest party that has challenged governments for over 2 decades now?
Fred, thank you, and it's good to be back. It's been a while. It's actually interesting that our expectations of what you call a celebration should turn out to be almost a shouting match for ODM. And I squarely put that blame on the people who organize the celebrations, because you can organize events to reflect what they're meant to be, you see. So if they were meant to be celebrations, it should have been just contained them in the celebration. But when you turn the event into a rally, then you expect that to happen, and that's what happened. So in a rally, then you're really not controlling what people say. And you give people time to now speak what was in their minds. And just riding on what has been said here, it's really true that people are still in the mood not for celebration. And some of the expressions right now are really coming out of a point of mourning. I mean, people are still mourning Raila Odinga. And, to imagine that we are already inheriting him, you find that people are wondering what has happened so quickly, that we're moving so quickly. So I believe that some of the things come, it's a state of a bit of instability, if you ask me, in the party. So, and so when you hear what people are saying, I think they should have relaxed a bit, waited a little bit, for them to say whether the date is right or not, we're going to go for it. That also was a contribution. I mean, the celebration at 20 doesn't have to be exactly on a date, because nobody anticipated that we would have this celebration in the midst of a loss, a mourning, the party leader. But after that, I also say that we must realize that in this situation, ODM was a party, it's a national party, but its half of its life has been taken away by the loss of Raila Amolo Odinga. It's literally half of the life of the party. So you can't expect that party to be what used to be. And for anyone to pretend that it's actually still there as a whole is to be in denial. It's to be in denial. ODM people should realize that once we lost Raila Amolo Odinga, that part of the party, which is basically, in my view, 50% of the party, is gone. You must, first of all, then, find a way of organizing yourself to regain the part that has been lost. It's difficult to do it in one event. And then also the other thing which is a cause for concern is, how are you going to replace Raila Amolo Odinga as a party leader. And the statements which have come out assure you that there is a problem there and that we don't want to address it. We want to hide or keep our heads in the sand. Because there's a real problem there that people are not satisfied with the way that the leadership was selected to replace Raila Amolo Odinga. And if that replacement was in the interim, then why are we not calling for an NDC? And those are the questions which came. Said, can we find a way of doing it? But as I said there one time, there is something about this political party. This political party is the biggest political party and the oldest political party after KANU right now. That is in Parliament. And it's been organized around a certain principle, and the person who manned everything was basically Raila Amolo Odinga. So as they go, and I can see that the emotions are still a mixture of, celebrations with mourning. Now then comes where are we going is the question. And that's the biggest question which has been answered. So after this, where are we going and how are we going into 2027? Becomes another issue. So there are people who have already given up hope in ODM, say we are supporting President Ruto 2027. That's almost literally saying we've given up. Okay, our candidacy is gone. We don't, and that's very dangerous for a party. So the people who are saying we are not going to determine now, those are people who want to keep the party strong. But the people who come here and say we are doing this until post 2027, those people are not helping the party. Because look at it this way. Even if your party is small and weak, if you declare that you're going to run, you strengthen the party. But if you declare already that we're not running, tell me, why would I be interested in that party? Why would anybody want to remain in that party? So let's be careful how you shout about that. And how do you take everybody along with you? So, I mean, there are many issues in this party. They organized something called the Founders' Dinner. Some of the founders came, some of the founders did not attend. And why was that necessary to have a Founders' Dinner? It's basically the point in that Founders' Dinner was to see how to accommodate President William Ruto. In the speeches, otherwise how else would you have accommodated him? You had to have him to come and address, in a way, have a chance to campaign for his future in that particular state. Now, my question is whether it was the right time, was it presented nicely? All those kind of things have to be questions for the future. Yeah. So yeah, I really think ODM is in a crisis. They can't see it now. They needed to sit down and wait until everybody's back into a normal senses. But now they have taken it on, and the split is very clear.
And it's now playing out so publicly when the whole country is watching. Allow me to welcome Wakili Kibe Mungai into this conversation. Wakili, karibu sana and good morning.
Thank you, good morning.
Of course, the focus this morning, and coming from the dailies, is on ODM after they marked their 20th anniversary celebrations and what played out there so publicly. And I think the other panelists are in agreement that these celebrations are probably a bit ill-timed, a bit too soon after Raila Odinga's death. Probably they should have waited. If Raila Odinga was present, this kind of divisions would not have played out so loudly and publicly as it was. Do you think that this is the end of ODM?
Well, it is obvious watching the events of the last 5 or so days that there's a serious battle for the soul of ODM. And how this battle will be resolved, it remains to be seen. But I saw some important progress in what was happening because there is the ideological wing of ODM represented by the likes of Sifuna, the likes of Anyang' Nyong'o and James Orengo. And then there are the pragmatist wing of ODM. This is the wing that appears to have the mindset that over the last 20 or so years, ODM has been seeking to form government and has not succeeded. And therefore, they imagine it is easy to be in government just by cutting deals with President Ruto, whom, for whatever reasons, they believe is likely to be re-elected. Whether that is the case or not remains to be seen. But why I think there would be some interest in the battle for the soul of ODM is that the exit, let us call it that way, the exit of a charismatic leader across the world, many times it means, will the party succeed, will it not succeed? There were countries like Russia, China, Mandela, ANC, Tanzania, where you see there was a sense in which the party survived the founders. And that is because they were ideologically split, they were ideologically founded and grounded, and therefore you emerge stronger probably, even after the founder has left. Because remember, and this is an important point that my friend Barack Muluka made yesterday in the Sunday Standard, that because of the existence of Raila Odinga as a charismatic leader, it meant that for all practical purposes, ODM did not have very strong institutions, in the sense that Raila was everything. Remember, Raila, unlike many other political parties, many people don't take cognizance of this, they have what they call the Central Committee. Now, the Central Committee basically consists of Raila's loyalists. And you do not see an equivalent of the Central Committee. The Central Committee is something that you see in communist parties, where now the party leader is able finally to dominate the party through that Central Committee. Now, the NDC and the Executive Committee, those are the normal structures that are known within the normal structure of the Political Parties Act in Kenya, which you do not have, which they have, in addition to the Central Committee, which ends up making all the key decisions. Now, because of that fact, there is now an opportunity, because remember, even when he was in Azimio, for example, the High Court about a year ago, or early this year, when he decided that Azimio Party was a majority in Parliament. Now, there was the ideological wing of ODM, led by James Orengo, who spoke out the idea most, who wanted to say, why don't we take our position as the main, as a majority party, and then move on from there. But unfortunately or unfortunately, Raila Odinga preferred, instead of building up on Azimio, he found it easy to say, let's cut a deal. We leave UDA and Kenya Kwanza to assert their wrongful position that they are majority, and ODM gets accommodated somehow. And that is why now, when you had this broad-based government now getting some grounding, it is again an informal enterprise. And that is why Winnie Odinga, when you heard her say that this was being managed by the deceased Raila Odinga. And how do you move forward from there? Senator Sifuna raised an important question, that this broad-based government, and it is the future of it that will decide where ODM goes with this broad-based government, where is the headquarters of the broad-based government? Where does it meet? Because remember, even a small task force, it usually has a headquarters that this is where you meet, this is where the secretariat is. So that it is a completely informal arrangement between Raila Odinga and President Ruto. Now, in the absence of that, the question Winnie was raising, who will now be the one to manage? Who is Ruto's partner for purposes of BBG?
Equal partner.
Equal partner, whether it is equal or not, but who is for whom will the BBG now be the representative of BBG? For example, if you need a deal, like you want to pass an unpopular bill, whom will Ruto speak on the ODM side to rally the troops, the way Raila would do, and to ensure that even unpopular deals would be supported. The budget is coming. The budget, looking at the IMF figures and the discussions with the World Bank and the donors, they want to increase more taxes. So if you want to increase taxes, will the ODM play ball? Okay, if Raila was there, probably he could be spoken to, and probably they would have played ball. So that there are interesting times ahead. But that issue of broad-based government is crucial for one reason. Namely, all the ministers that were in the Ruto's government, they are saying we are with Ruto unconditionally. We support re-elections. Now, that is a group that is in the broad-based government. The other group, and they were saying, Orengo said it, well, I think it is Ruto who needs ODM and not the other way around. Now, because of that reason, the future of the broad-based government is not assured, okay? Because some people have reservations about it, that it is compromising them. And again, two things. Knowing the style of William Ruto is a kind of leader who wants you to surrender, is a dominant figure, is an alpha kind of politician, just like Raila Odinga. Now, these alpha politicians would want, and that is why you hear in ODM people saying, we are orphans. We are going there unconditionally. Of course, there are other groups who say, we are not orphans, we have a home, and we intend to build that home. So these guys who are the pragmatists, they might find themselves, as the years go by, need to seek re-elections under UDA. And these are the group that remains of ODM, the ideological group. It will now depend upon them. Will they carry the people with them? And why is that significant? It is significant because ultimately, the group that wins depends actually on an actual elections. These elections will be in 2027. Will the people say, we want the ideological group, or we want the surrender group, that which wants to go to this other side? And finally, it is an important point to remember that Kenya Kwanza itself, as it is today, we say we have Kenya Kwanza government. I realized 2 years ago when doing that majority case that Kenya Kwanza actually does not have an office, does not have a website. It is a completely, so that in Kenya you are actually governed by an entity that has got no office. And it is the same case with broad-based government. So that the truth of the matter is, it is until they call the road, the rubber meets the road. I hope that is the expression, that we are going to see what is going to happen. For example, in Mombasa, the governor for Mombasa, for purposes of re-election, in UDA, he has a competitor. So when elections comes nearer, they will end up being rivals. So I do not see them going very far.
Okay. And probably 2027 is too far for us to think about when it comes to whether or not ODM will be in UDA or vice versa. But in the meantime, a lot of things will happen. And looking at the kind of demeanor the president has, he appears a bit confident that he still has control of ODM and ODM numbers in Parliament. Case in point, he will be making his State of the Nation address, and we're now moving from ODM to discussing what will happen in Parliament. The State of the Nation address coming up this week. He has already said that he'll be pushing for the enactment of laws to form or set up an infrastructure fund worth 1.5 trillion shillings. That definitely will need parliamentary support from across boards. Yeah. He seems very confident on such a thing that may actually cause more burden to the taxpayer in as far as funding or resourcing this fund. Why do you think he's so confident?
When you look at President William Ruto and the way he conducts his business and the way he speaks, he's, number one, he's very confident because he's the one who makes all the decisions. At times I look at him and I'm convinced that perhaps he sleeps, decides to do something, does it in the morning because he knows that nobody will question. I mean, look at the caliber of leaders that we have in Parliament and even in Senate. These are people who don't question the executive, and especially the leaders in his party, that is the UDA party. even when he pushed the finance bill, they all, or a majority of them, apart from, of course, people like Wamushomba and a few others who shot it, the others pushed it to the last minute until he himself decided to take another route. And then they went back and followed him and said, okay, the president has said he doesn't want the finance bill, and therefore we don't want the finance bill. We have a parliament that is toothless. They answer to the executive, they do what the president wants. In fact, they're not answerable to us, yet they are actually supposed to be representing the people. More burden to the people. If going by what we are seeing, that these are some of the things that he wants enacted, the bills that he's pushing, and the push for more funds to be allocated to whatever project he's talking about. And you know, most of these projects are actually white elephants, because I have been to places where projects were launched, or he went and signed, or even put a stone on some project and said, we are starting this road, we are doing this. Then you go there 1 month later and nothing is happening. Mm-hmm. And there's this young man, this Gen Z Morara, who did a very good job of unearthing and telling us the truth behind some of these infrastructural projects. I want to agree with what Waziri Pogisio said. I think he's the one who said this, that maybe if Baba was there, Baba was pro-people. Baba was speaking for us. Even when he was in this broad-based government, once in a while, he could disagree with his co-principal, with his colleague in BBG, and say, no, things are not, being ran the right way. We want to ask now, because I do not see anybody in that parliament who is going to speak for Kenyans.
Yet ODM last year, when we were talking about the finance bill, ODM MPs basically voted no. The numbers were not as many, but they voted no. Right now, we're talking about, on one hand, President Ruto's legislative agenda going forward, which had been guaranteed that the numbers from ODM's side, at least with Raila Odinga present, would be marshaled his way. Raila Odinga has left, but now we are seeing the president still very comfortable, sitting pretty, saying that, yes, he wants MPs to pass this, enact legislation that will ensure setting up of a 1.5 trillion shilling infrastructure fund. And he says something interesting. How to raise the 1.5 trillion, leave it to me. I know where I will get the money. Do you think he'll get that kind of support from ODM members?
Well, you know, Fred, there has been a tyranny of numbers, literally. When UDA and ODM merged, they could pass anything. It's there. It's there, and the structure for passing legislation is there. And I think that's where the confidence is. The president relies on people like Jeanette, who is the whip or minority leader, and others who are there, whom, as you can hear them saying, those are the BBG guys, mm-hmm. who enjoy a lot of support from the government in this particular time. So you'll find that he can be confident because he can see the infrastructure that exists, in the Senate and also in the National Assembly. For some reason, the only place where I can agree with the president is his dream to move Kenya from what we call third world to the first world within I guess within his lifetime, because it cannot be within the term mm-hmm. of his presidency. And so if you need to move Kenya from the third world to the first world, the situation is you need massive amounts of money raised locally and also maybe borrowed from outside to create that fund and make sure that you first of all start building the infrastructure. Up to that point, we agree, because I agree that infrastructure is a basic pillar for you to move from third world to first world. It's quite a dream. is quite a very serious dream that the president has. Now, the bearer of the dream must carry everybody along. You can actually have a big dream, but if you don't manage to take the nation with you, it's going to be difficult because the people who are going to pay those taxes are us. And so he has to find a way to get into our hearts and say, we are moving together in this. And I think that's another tall order for him that he has to do. Because in the midst of all this, these campaigns for these by-elections is doing that. And I think if National Assembly, because that's where it's going to be, National Assembly and the Senate are going to pass that law, his agenda will be part of the address to the nation. His agenda will be that. It is part of the items he must cover during his address.
Question, because you've been a member of cabinet, is it feasible that such a huge undertaking go to Parliament without probably a backup or a backing in as far as where the source of the funds is going to be? And the president says, okay, just pass the law. Me, I'll know where the money will come from later.
It won't be that easy. In fact, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of underground, maybe consultations, but you cannot move people from third world to first world, or move such an amount of money, raise that kind of amount of money without really having the support of a lot of the people, especially the citizenry of the country. You see, the problem is how we personalize some of these things. We should institutionalize these things so that we can say that there's an institution responsible for that. But to say, I know how to raise, the money, tell us then, even before we go there. It's very important for the people to know how you're going to raise this money, for them to gain the confidence that this money is actually for a good cause and is for national development. We've seen in the country that a lot of times funds come in, but funds are not used for the purpose that it was intended to be. And so leading to loss of trust, back to trust, loss of trust. Because if you raise whatever amount of trillion, how much of that is really going to the and by the way, we can raise the money. You can raise the money, but are you able to, that money going to do what you intend for it to be? And how are you going to involve? People are already overburdened. I don't know whether the people in government realize that. The citizenry is actually tired. They are actually overburdened. You've seen people commit suicide. We've seen people, a lot of business people are actually in a situation where they don't want to hear about another fund, you see. So you have to carry them along with you for you to come and say, now, where you have reached, okay, we're going to surpass that and go beyond that. You have to carry people along.
And that says a lot about President William Ruto's position right now, the comfort that he feels he enjoys, despite the fact that his core principle in the broad-based arrangement is no longer there. The fact that it's only a year and a few months since the protests against the finance bill because of higher taxation. Now, 18 months to the next election, he feels comfortable enough to introduce a new fund that probably will either raise the debt levels of this country or raise taxation beyond the already punitive levels it is at. Politically speaking, it may be a positive thing, the infrastructure fund, but politically speaking, this is a very confident president.
Well, he has every reason to be confident because we were saying it last week. A tyrant governs through money, violence, and persuasion. Many times in the name of lies. Now, in the absence of Raila, because to some extent he was principled, and he could be able to rally troops to oppose, political troops to oppose something. Now that means that the capacity for the president to compromise parliament through money, he would have greater capacity to do that, because the questions would be, if the numbers are not enough, what's your price to change your position? And I believe sufficient money have been accumulated over the last 3 years to ensure that using money, you can be able to get whatever numbers you want to push, even to push for an anti-people agenda. So I believe that is a main source of confidence. But the bigger issue to me is actually a constitutional or legal one, in the sense that when you read the Kenyan Constitution, the question of, like the arrogant saying, pass the law, leave the question for where to get the money. To me, that question is for Parliament. It is for parliaments to decide we are passing the law, and this is how money is going to be raised. Precisely. Not even the rationale. To actually say or approve. Usually the president in a presidential system or in a system, you can only propose, but the decision maker is not the president. But he seems to have already arrogated himself because of this issue of parliamentary capture that we have in Kenya, that the parliament only plays a nominal role, but substantively he decides all that issue. But that is primarily the constitutional role of parliament. So that parliament in Kenya or anywhere else, you cannot have a situation whereby you have created a fund and you have not approved this is the amount of fund we intend to raise, when and how. All those details must be there. And therefore, if it happens without all those details, it will raise an important constitutional question. But there is a second also equally important constitutional question that I see in all this. There is a question of double taxation. In Kenya, we already have, for example, infrastructure. Road has always been the main infrastructure in Kenya. We have even the Railways Development Levy. You had money that used to be raised through the Kenya Roads border, which recently was securitized. Why was this money securitized? This money was securitized so that you can get money in advance and do whatever you want to do. So that the truth of the matter is, we are paying the sins because Parliament allowed something unconstitutional to take place, that there is no income stream for the government to be able to do anything because whatever money is there is being paid to the banks. Therefore, no project can be undertaken. So that now when you are told you will be paying money to go to pay for the banks for a loan that we do not know how it was used. And remember, and that is connected to the next question, that increasingly, you know, a long time ago, like during the Moi era, corruption would take the form of a parastatal is working, you overemploy, but now the parastatals are broke. So there is now money to steal from parastatals. You could steal land. Almost every significant land that had value has already been stolen. So that over the last 15, 20 years, the dominant source of money for stealing by the elite, particularly the people around the president, have been loans. So that the infrastructure fund, let us call it for what it is. The source of money we may not be Kenyans. The Kenyans, obviously, in the long run, we need to pay the loan. But the plan here is this. You need to prove to whoever, the Arabs, the Chinese, anybody else where you are going to get the money, that the Kenyans will be put into financial servitude over the next 30 years to pay this money, if you allow us to give the loans. But also, you also need to remember, there is nothing in Kenya here. You will have scenarios whereby total project worth 300 million, you use 300 billion, you use 1.5 trillion. Because we need to understand, and Kenya need to understand, that the main source of money, the main source of corruptions are loans. So that if you don't get that, you miss everything. So that this is nothing, this is corruption. You are creating money to steal. And the infrastructure fund, now that there are few places to steal money from, will be the main vehicle to finance the 2027 elections.
And the question now is, can Parliament do anything about it? Because listening to all three of you is that, okay, fine, with the exit of Raila Odinga, it means that everyone now has a price, and therefore the president has better, if not more control over the parliamentarians than he had when Raila Odinga was here.
I think the president and the executive are actually having a field day. they must be laughing at all of us. Because you listen to even the people who are the members of parliament, especially the members of parliament from my region, where I come from. And they were elected on an UDA ticket. They are in parliament. They have not even, left the UDA party. So they subscribe to the manifesto and all the, the operations of that government. But they are so busy on the streets every day telling us one term. This sloganeering thing that politicians keep picking every time so that they can mobilize people, so that they can emotionally manipulate the population is very bad. So, we have leaders, we have members of parliament, both in the lower and the upper house, who are speaking from both sides of their mouth. So really, to me, there's nothing, totally nothing that a majority of these people will do. Of course, apart from one or two, members of parliament, and we know them, who, someone like Edwin Sifuna, someone like Gathoni Wamuchomba, someone like Anthony Kibagendi, we know them. Those, and even someone like Babu Owino, those are the people who, from time to time, they will speak for Kenyans. Otherwise, the rest of them, including the people in Baba's party, they will just follow what William Samoei Ruto will ask them to do.
Okay. State of the Nation address coming up later this week. If the president has already indicated his main agenda will be this one, but it will also be an opportunity for him to address the kind of control he has over Parliament, and probably even the reception he will get will be indicative of how this Parliament will behave post-Raila Odinga going forward. What do you expect?
No, I mean, it's the president, as has been said, Kathy and Wakili here, both say this is correct. That he'll have, once he has more control, the rest is left to a display of that control on that Thursday afternoon when he comes in. And so that's how you judge how it's going to be. It's definitely, I mean, we are still basically in that mood of mourning and at the same time celebrating. And it's going to show that for us to show that we are with you, those of us in ODM now, those in ODM now, will have to prove by being the most receptive of the members of parliament when the president comes in. But generally, the State of the Union address, the State of the Nation address, as we call it, must reflect bipartisanism. Must reflect a genuine presentation of the State of the Union, of the nation. It's first of all, how is the nation as we speak now must also be addressed. How is it now? And before you even move to are you able to tell the true picture of the state of the nation as is before you move to your proposal for the future? And I think that's where a lot of people have to ask President a number of questions. Because we know exactly the state of the nation as it is now. So yeah, he has to explain that and then give the confidence and the trust that we are now moving from here to this big project that's ahead of us. And I expect that at the end of the State of the Nation address, the commentaries from the members of parliament will then show, because then if it is unacceptable, if everything's accepted, then you'll see at the end of the presentation, when the media comes to ask for comments, that's when you'll see who stands for what. But generally, it is a very neutral statement. The State of the Union, the State of the Nation, should be neutral. It's not be politicized. It's not a party thing. It's a state of the whole nation, and it should therefore be given an opportunity to even for those who are not comfortable with the president, to be able to engage in that statement, and even for them to say, yeah, this is for our country. It's actually for the nation. This is when nation is different from government, you see. So the supremacy is in the nationhood. Mm-hmm. It's in the nation. Government is just a servant of the nation. So that sometimes we mistake those two, and the government sometimes wants to sit on the nation. That's not what's supposed to be. The nation should be a place of comfort for all, whether you support the government or not. But now, this is the state of the nation, and I hope that's going to be that we are here, and this is where we are, and we're moving from here to there. And then from there, now we can debate that speech. That speech is going to come later on for debate. And that's when you will know who opposes it, who supports it, and maybe even building it into something of amendment or something like that to the speech, because that's when everybody should be able to participate in that ceremony. It comes once in a year, so it's not your usual political thing, although sometimes people turn it into a political grouping thing. You know, it's not. It's actually supposed to be the president as the servant of the nation, coming to tell us how we are doing and where we are going. And so I really hope that that's not something to play politics around. It should be a time to get the nation, to move the nation together.
Yes, but it will be very difficult for him to avoid politics. The exit of Raila Odinga, ODM at 20 with fractions all over the cracks, by-elections, almost a mini poll coming in a week's time. Definitely the president is in a political mood right now.
Yeah, almost 2 years to the election.
18 months, actually.
18 months. We are on an election mode. It is actually a serious betrayal to the people of Kenya that for example, we witnessed in Ukambani last week is where buses, including lorries, school buses, have to keep shifting people from one meeting to the next to go and create an artificial crowd that the president is addressing. Now you would be able to wonder whether this kind of circuses taking place just a week to a State of the Union address, what State of the Union is possible from, and this ordinarily is made by the head of state. There's a difference between the state and government. He's head of government, meaning Kenya Kwanza government. He's also, but now it is no longer Kenya Kwanza government. It is a collection of his allies that are called BBG. Then, but as head of state, he represents all of us. But going forward, and as you have noted, when you say that the politics of the day seems to be the preoccupying force, the issue that he has to go everywhere in the streets of Kenya to go and say what people to chant two-term is indicative of what is going to happen. And there are two things that are already indicating that it will not be, three things actually, it will not be a genuine state of the nation. Because on one hand, when recently, over the last 2-3 months, they have been creating this, and he gave himself a score that all those things he promised, he has delivered 80%. Of course, Kenyans know that on what counts, on a scale of 10, you can hardly give the President Ruto 2 out of 10 for what has actually been achieved, especially marked by the issue of jobs, the issue of human rights violations, and of course the despondency, the fact that businesses are closing and people have no money. That is a true State of the Union address. That State of the Union address over the last 3 months, they have been denying it. You are suffering. In fact, sometimes you think whether you are mad. But somebody is saying Kenya has never been better than now. Mm-hmm. So it starts with honesty. Can you honestly tell people this is the state in which Kenyans are? It's a state of despondency.
Do you expect that it will just be another opportunity for the president to say, okay, we've done this?
80%, yes, that is what he will say. The next important thing is an interview that was covered somewhere by Al Jazeera. Kenyans were killed the other day. There are massive human rights violations. He said nobody has been abducted since he was elected. Nobody has been extrajudicially executed. Okay? Nobody, and when he was asked, you gave a shoot to kill order, he said, I have no apologies for that. The Kenyan constitution says Kenya is supposed to be a human rights state, a state that protects human rights and promotes them. Now, how will the head of state be able to give a genuine picture when he even said, I have no apologies for telling the police, ordering the police effectively to act unconstitutionally? The third thing is this infrastructure fund. The fact of the matter is, if there is a State of the Nation address, the biggest problems in Kenya today is oppressive taxation. This oppressive taxation, you cannot make it worse by saying, even in advance, you pass the law. And we know, because it's a parliament of sheep, that the law will be passed, okay? It will be against the opposition of the Kenyan people. There need actually to be a lot of public participation, so that takes into account, are Kenyans in support, after we have paid all these taxes, to do this? This will be forced on the Kenyan people, rammed on their throats through parliament. That cannot be a happy start to the State of the Union. And finally, what is the State of the Union on the institutions? Judiciary. I pick it for one simple reason, that I'm a lawyer. But the more and more the president acts unconstitutionally, the judiciary has, broadly speaking, done well on other aspects. But with regard to budgeting process in Kenya, with regard to the issue of taxation, the judiciary has done badly, because you do not want to be in a situation where double taxation, which is one of the biggest crimes that historically can be committed by government, President Ruto and Kenya Kwanza government, they keep doing it over and over again without effectively the Kenyan judiciary stopping it. I am sure that Kenyans and many legal groups that I'm aware are opposed to this will not let this to pass, to try to do double taxation without consulting Kenyans and think that a parliament of sheep is going to commit them into another round of 30-year servitude, and people keep quiet about it. But the challenge now will be for the courts. People will not expect the courts, when a president is acting clearly and constitutionally, and you start giving all kinds of excuses that parliament allowed it to happen. People will have now to say, what is the right of a parliament of sheep to be committing Kenyans to this kind of trickery over and over again?
Okay. Yes, State of the Nation address expected later this week. President William Ruto will be addressing a joint session of both houses for the annual State of the Nation address. And he says that his top agenda is to convince MPs to pass legislation for the setting up of an infrastructure fund worth 1.5 trillion shillings, which he says, don't worry, he will know how to fund it himself. I want us to move to a different discussion as we come to the end, closer to the end of this session. And one legislator has reintroduced the debate about the position of the deputy president. I've seen even with ODM the past few weeks where they said that their demand in the broad-based arrangement had to be that for them to support William Ruto in 2027, they have to get the DP's position or nothing. Now, Senator Cherargei, who's one of those very talkative senators, comes out and says the DP's position is taken. It is Kindiki's and no one else. We do have that clip. Let's play it.
Wakisema ati in case tukienda negotiation na broad base, sisi tuko broad base, lakini kuna viti mbili hatuwezi ongelea kwa coalition, President William Ruto na Professor Kithure Kindiki. I want to tell them waombe zile viti vingine mpaka ya mzee ametaa. Lakini tukienda any negotiation in building a coalition going into the future of 2027 to 2032, the Deputy President of His Excellency Dr. William Ruto is Professor Senator Kithure Abraham Kindiki, kwa sababu ya shukrani yetu kwa kusimama na kijana yetu Rais William Ruto. So I want to tell wenzangu, kama ni wale tuko broad base, kama ni wale wanataka tufanye kazi pamoja, viti yote mbili ya juu ya rais na deputy shaenda. So jipange, labda waombe ile ya kanisa ama sijui ya gani, but they should watafute ingine, kwa sababu hii yako ni assured.
Should we call it arrogance? Should we call it... Should we see this as now moving on from the broad-based arrangement where Raila Odinga was present?
It is the usual chest thumping by politicians, you know, and those who purport to speak for, you know, whichever formation or side that they represent. To me, I think it's an attempt to make Kindiki comfortable in the current arrangement. Because if you, when you look at the entitlement that ODM is coming with, you know, in that arrangement of theirs, the BBG, of course they are demanding that if that relation is going to hold, you know, any longer, then they have to give them the deputy president position. And therefore, it's just the henchmen from the UDA side are just pacifying, you know, just telling Kindiki, please don't worry, we got you, politically speaking. But to me, it's a long con. But then he has to say this, he has to keep saying this for purposes of, you know, ensuring that Kindiki sits pretty in that arrangement for now until 2027. Because according to me, the writings are on the wall, and nothing guarantees that Kindiki will come back as the deputy president. Even when you know, the Right Honorable BAMBA was still with us, his position was not assured. There were murmurs, there were rumors, there were all these things that even the president himself had told us at one point that the deputy president position should go to a lady. And people had even started decoding that message and saying, you know, this lady is from the ODM party. And even when you look at the way he's meddling into the affairs of ODM, again, that is very telling. He's paying a lot of attention to that, you know, particular formation, the ODM party. But then, even coming closer home, when you look at the politics, you know, in the Mount Kenya region where Kindiki comes from, how many votes can he deliver to William Ruto so that now he's assured of another 5 years, or, you know, for 2017 going forward, if they come back? To me, I'm convinced they are going home. And therefore, it's just another political chant by one of the William Ruto's lieutenants.
It is ODM that set its own price, that it's the DP's position. This could be seen in the art of political negotiation as just a way of raising the price for the position of DP as well.
You know, Fred, sometimes people go into public rally are absolutely clueless about what they're going to say. And then suddenly, you know, as if there was a eureka moment, whatever it is, they start talking. But let me just break this down. First of all, you must look at Cherargei himself, the person, and how reckless he's been in making statements, whether inside Parliament or outside of Parliament. I mean, it's so you wonder whether you should take him, we should even be debating that statement, because this is a man who says to the president of Uganda, the president of Tanzania, says, those Kenyans, wakija huko, you know,
wafinye.
Wafinye. I mean those statements come from a person who is representing people in the parliament.
There are those who argue that, yes, he may sound reckless, but this comes from a point of design. It's not by accident.
Basically, my argument is, whether it's by design or by accident, are these the kind of things that we should actually take very seriously? But secondly, I see that it cannot be representing UDA in this matter, because look at how derogatory he is to ODM. He's saying maybe they should ask for mzee wa mtaa or amaile ya kanisa. I mean, yes, absolutely no respect for that ODM party. And yet the president depends on this ODM party. And so he should be very careful how he speaks, because this can actually drive a wedge between the president and ODM, and the UDA and ODM. He's, in that statement alone, he's not even helping Kindiki in any way. Kindiki is a very nice person, but the matter of who becomes deputy president is not determined now. It's going to be determined in 2027 when you elect or select your running mate. You see, those matters are coming. So you can speak, you can say all you want right now that this is going to be, but you can't determine it. And especially now, it's not even Cherargei who's going to determine who is going to be the running mate. How do you do that? Much as you might say, you are forestalling a situation by saying, so that Mheshimiwa Kindiki doesn't worry, you're forestalling it. Well, 2027 is going to be a different matter. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, you should speak respectfully about the ODM party. Whichever position, you can't come here and tell us that in a negotiation, you can't talk about these two, these are already taken, you can ask for anything else. I mean, who needs who? And that's why you realize people like Orengo were saying, some of you people are speaking as if ODM needs UDA. It's UDA that needs ODM. So let Cherargei also think about it. Who needs whom in this particular matter? Mm-hmm. You know, you should actually be kowtowing towards ODM, because you need to be respectful, because you're asking. It's like in a marriage. I mean, you can't want a daughter from this home and be disrespectful in that particular situation by insulting the parents. No, so you can't do that. So I do think being very derogatory, that the way he speaks, and being very arrogant, I'm not surprised, because that's Cherargei. That's the person who, even in Parliament, you know, every day there's something about what is Cherargei doing. So when he's the one sent, and I don't think anybody has sent him, I don't think President Ruto would have sent him to say those kind of things, because that is going to break the relationship between ODM and the ruling party. And so I do wish that, I mean, we have heard him, but really we should not take him very seriously.
Yeah. If we may imagine for a moment that probably he's been sent by his masters, this would be one way of raising, probably from his side, from the UDA side, the position or the premium for the DP's position, that if at all that is the one thing ODM really wants, then this is it, it's here. We'll use it as a negotiating thing. Then eventually give you, and you should be very grateful that we did that.
Yes, I think there is enough evidence to point that he could be speaking on his own, or he could easily have been sent. I am more inclined to believe that this is an official statement. What happens is that in the current scheme of things, Cherargei is one of the test balloons for William Ruto. We used to have them during the time of President Moi, where you get a politician close to you, but whom you can easily say is my idiot. So he is the president's idiot. So that you let him say something to test what is going to be the reaction, but you can relieve yourself some room of deniability. Mm-hmm. So that when, for example, you see how do people react to the idea that UDA is going to keep both positions. Remember, even when Kenya Kwanza was being formed, they came into an arrangement where UDA took the positions of president, and is part of the coalition agreement, and the deputy. And remember the style when he talks about disrespect, that UDA or the president may not have that kind of disrespect. During the 2022 election, despite having that coalition agreement, it did not stop President Ruto's party, UDA, from having candidates to run against Mudavadi. And actually they took some of the seats in Vihiga. So you cannot be able to say that UDA is very respectful. UDA is actually not respectful at all. And the truth of the matter is that the modus operandi of President William Ruto is that he's not the kind of person who would formally go into an official arrangement with ODM and say that as a right, I have given ODM this deputy position. Because it would mean that that deputy is very difficult to control, because he's a deputy from another party, part of the concession. Remember, in the Kikuyus today and the Gema Nation, when they complain about what went wrong, and Rigathi Gachagua has been saying this over and over again, we did the wrong thing by going to a wedding, by taking a ride on somebody else's vehicle. And that is why now you say you are badly treated. You are supposed to be in government, then within 2 years, you are ejected. So the style that he's going to have, and how he would, I believe, his preferred method to get to pick from the ruins of ODM, ruins to the extent of the instability, that has been created by the death of Raila. It would be to get all these people individually to come to him without conditions. And I believe this is the agenda that Cherargei was driving here and saying, you are coming, you come without conditions, and we shall give you what we intend to take. And I believe because President Ruto would want to control who is the next president of Kenya, you do not do that except by ensuring a weak person like Professor Kindiki without any political base is actually your deputy. So I believe I would give an 8 out of 10 that the preferred deputy for Ruto in 2027 will be Kindiki, because having Kindiki enables you to control the events of 2032, assuming you get re-elected. Because to get anybody else pursuant to negotiations, it means that that person, remember the deputy president, who will come in 2027 from the Ruto side, can easily be seen to be, this is a preferred successor. But I don't think Ruto is going to anoint somebody as a preferred successor, and effectively that person, politics will start revolving, because that person now will start representing the future. So I believe on my part, I would take Cherargei very seriously, because this is in keeping in tandem with the kind of politics of William Ruto as an alpha politician. He wants to control the future. The future, you control it by getting weak men into that constitutional office, like Kindiki.
Debate about the position of deputy president and who will be running mate to President William Ruto come 2027, reignited there by a senator for Nandi, whether he's been sent by his masters, if any, or is speaking on his own. That's the debate here. We have about 4 minutes left. Time for your final comments. By-elections coming up in 10 days' time. Debate and campaigns at fever pitch across the nation. State of the Nation address anticipated this week. And of course, we're coming from the ODM at 20. Final comment, Kathy, in about a minute or so.
So, yes, the country is charged again. You know, all these elections will happen in one day, in the same day. So it's like we are having a mini election, because I think there are 56, you know, including the MCA positions. But I think what has actually caught my attention is the Mbeere North, the politics that and everything, the campaigns that are happening there currently. I must say that I'm very, very disappointed because yesterday I followed as part of the opposition went campaigning for their preferred candidate, that is Newton, the Honorable Newton, a potential member of parliament, because until the votes are cast and counted, then all the 3 or the 4 or the 5, then I don't know how many, I think there are about 12 aspirants in Mbeere North. As the Jubilee Party, we withdrew our candidate because we thought that it is proper to support one common candidate. However, yesterday I was taken aback by the words of the former deputy president, especially the attacks on Cecily Mbarire, the governor of Embu, where she was reminded that her husband is Teso, and therefore foreigners or people from other regions are not allowed to come. I really, really want to beseech the former, deputy president. I know we were asked ourselves from the Jubilee Party by our party leader to go slow on attacking him. No. And therefore, we are not attacking him, but we would like to remind him that decency is very important. The other thing that happened, yesterday when I listened to the speeches that he made, it is almost a call to anarchy. When you tell young people that vote in the morning, the young men between the age of 13 to 35 then camp at the gate so that foreigners don't come. How are they going to differentiate between foreigners and locals? That is a call to anarchy, and he must be called out.
All right, thank you.
Well, the absence of BAMBA in Kenyan politics is going to show in a little while. But it is by itself part of the state of the nation. The passing of Raila Amolo Odinga, and as Kenyans still celebrate him and hope that given all the honor and everything that we continue to mourn him, It's going to be a time of reflection for the current president and the ruling elites to think about those tenets, those principles that he held. One of those things that he held very strongly was a situation where we were not tribal. You know, he wanted a nation to be together. But secondly, human rights. And many times it was difficult for Raila Odinga, but he fought to make sure that the Constitution of Kenya would be followed. But within that, there was a whole issue of fighting corruption. And so I do really hope that if as we promised, that we would do the things that he stood for. And I know that very soon there'll be a rolling out of some of those programs that they agreed with Raila Amolo Odinga. And as ODM goes through their own problems and goes through their own leadership issues, I hope what does not get lost in that is that this State of the Union must bring us to a place where we agree that we are a nation, that Kenya is more important than individuals, and that we must really fight this dragon called corruption and tribalism, especially when it comes to employment. It's very sad. Now, when we recruit people, recruit police, army, and so on, and you can see how that is going, the fairness for the young people. Even now, the very poor ones won't get in because of the way corruption has gone. I really hope that using this opportunity, that the president, in resetting the state and addressing this union, that it will be a real union for all of us.
Thank you, Bwana Pogisho. Finally, Wakili, final comment.
Yes, on the issue of the State of the Union address, in England you have this Prime Minister called Liz Truss. Liz Truss was a government, conservative government, I believe 2 or 3 years ago. It fell because she proposed to cut taxes without indicating the source of how you are going to finance the taxes that you are reducing, to finance the deficit that was going to come out of it. So that it is an important constitutional issue in a democracy where, like you say, pass a law regarding money, but you do not say where the source of whatever deficit is going to come from. And finally, on the Mbere issue is an important one for IEBC. You've been having situations whereby there is a lot of intimidation of the opposition candidates. And you've not had the IEBC chairman or the commissioners coming out to tell UDA that it is a serious election offense to mobilize government and its resources and thugs to support your candidate. And the IEBC actually has a mandate that where a candidate's involvement is based on suppressing other candidates, that candidate can actually be disqualified to ensure that there is free and fair election. This is their first involvement in election, so you would expect IEBCs to come strongly as we enter the last week of this campaign to say that intimidation will not be permitted and that it can lead to disqualification of the candidate on whose behalf this intimidation is taking place.
Thank you so much, Wakili Kibe Mungai. Samuel Pogisho, who served as Minister for ICT in the Kibaki II administration and other major positions in the Senate, and also Kathy Rongo, political commentator and governance analyst. Our panelists this morning on State of the Nation this Monday morning, as we take a look at the big headlines and matters ODM dominating the front pages. The war within, that's the Daily Nation. Raila reincarnate. The People Daily talks about the succession following the exit of the Prime Minister. A lot of your comments, unfortunately, because of time, I may not be able to sample them. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the State of the Nation. My name is Fred Indemuli. Good morning.